and the button is green.
Yay! Hello and welcome back to the RPG Academy podcast. I am still Michael. I am still joined with Tom. We are doing our second faculty meeting in a row. The podcast only or audio only versions will be coming out at some other time in the future. But we've been so long since we've done these, we thought we'd just double up and do two at one time.
Two of them.
We are just crazy like that.
And this time I am hosting our stream, so we are not going to drop out because believe it or not, Michael's internet is actually worse than the hotel that I'm staying at.
The hotel's Wi-Fi.
The hotel's Wi-Fi. It's actually really good.
Yeah, that's sad. So we actually had problems with our internet today where I'm not kidding. At one point I did a speed test and my download was 0.4.
That's
so
pretty
slow. Less than one. It was less than half of one. So we called them. There was actually an issue. They came out and fixed it. So we're fine. So now I'm getting upwards of like 100 download, but we are maxed at 7 up. Like that is all we're allocated. I was like, can I raise that? And they're like, no. So even when the internet's working perfectly here, the best I can get is 100 down and 7 up. And that's not a whole lot of streaming bandwidth. So continuing to possibly be an issue, but we're going to press on tonight. Tom's going to host, not a problem. This is going to be faculty meeting number 134, synergy session with Tom. So we're actually going to do a synergy session, which Tom's never done with me before, which should be super exciting.
Never done one. I'm super I'm super excited for this, but then also I'm like, oh my word, it's going to be so bad, but.
So before we get to that, though, the point of these faculty meetings, as always, are for Tom and I to have a conversation, and we hope that somewhere in this conversation, something we say will be a nugget of wisdom that you can take back to your table and your group. But we understand that the opinions we share and the advice we give will not work at every table every time. But there is one piece of advice that we do feel is pretty universal. And Tom, what is that one piece of advice?
If you're having fun, you're doing it right.
That is correct, sir. So no matter what game you're playing, the system or edition, what rules you use, don't use, or misuse, as long as you and your friends are having a good time, you're playing the game correctly.
That's right.
So with that out of the way, let's do some old business. Is there anything you've been up to you want to talk about?
Other than prepping for a catacon stuff, not too much. I've just been super busy with running the one-shots at Woodburn Games, our local game store. The Ghost of Saltmarsh stream, super busy with that, and just all sorts of stuff. Nothing too crazy. Just
all right.
A lot of work stuff, but that doesn't matter.
No, work.
No,
I don't have that anymore. It's very nice. I've been watching the Great British Baking Show. I'm up on season 4.
Oh, the best is yet to come. Oh, you all don't know this, but Michael and myself, future plans are to start a Great British Baking Show podcast.
Eventually.
Yeah, eventually. I am a huge fan of that show.
I've heard so many people I listen to on Twitter or podcasts, or I can listen to podcasts, have talked about how it's just a good show. You know, it's just it's so the antithesis of American reality shows where it's cutthroat and everyone's hoping someone else fails. And on this show, everyone generally likes each other and actually tries to help each other, even though it would hurt their chances of winning. And this is the thing that blew my mind. So I watched through 3 seasons. And I started the 4th season today. And I'm like, I wonder what these people get. You know, because like on an American version, they'd be like, you're winning $10,000.
And a truck.
And your own food truck or your own whatever. Do you know, have you looked this, what the winners of the Great British Bake Off actually receive?
I've not. I know they get some flowers.
They get a bouquet of flowers, which is handed to them when they win, and a plaque, which is kind of like a cake stand, but I think it actually says like, winner on it. That's it. There is no cash prize. There is no internship. There's no job. There's no food truck. They spend 10 weeks every weekend, and people are like crying because they're emotional over this, and there is no real prize at the end. And I find that fascinating.
I absolutely. So this is like the Great British Bake. It's one of the shows that we will not watch this unless all of us are together. So my wife watches it. My 4-year-old watches it. My 3-year-old watches it, and we all love it. It is the best show, and I'm still like any game designer who listens to this. I want my Great British Baking Show RPG. Like, I don't care if it's just a one page, like Grant
Hey,
Howe.
I'll make it out of D&D.
Okay, any RPG designers out there, please go out there and make me a Great British Baking Show game that does not involve a D20.
Nice.
Okay.
I also watched Joker last night. I went to the movies and saw Joker, and I was hearing a lot of like positive buzz before it came out. Again, it won like the Golden Lion in the Venice Film Festival, and people were talking about it's Oscar worthy. And then after it came out, a lot of other people started saying it's like, it's okay. I'm not sure it needs to exist. So I had gotten a lot of mixed messages, but I went into it with hopefully a clear mind and an open heart, and it was okay. I think I did like it. Those are the types of movies I usually have to watch more than once because there is just so much hype and expectation going in. But Joaquin Phoenix is an amazing actor. I don't think even the people who don't like the movie from what I've seen, have said he's amazing in it. It has an amazing cast. It looks very good. It has a very good soundtrack and cinematography. So it's good to look at. It's interesting. I think Joaquin does an amazing job. I think when I first heard they were going to do this, I'm like, do we need a Joker origin story? And as much as I did enjoy the movie, I still think I'm a little bit like, did we need a Joker origin story? So I don't know. So have you seen it yet, Tom? You're the bigger comic booker than I am.
I have so many opinions about this, and I could rant for an hour about why the Joker movie should not exist. I'm not going to. I am not going to see this movie. I refuse to see this movie. All right. I'm of the mindset that I can only take small doses of pretentiousness in my comic book movies. And this goes back to the whole idea of what experience do you want in a superhero in that genre? That is a certain experience. Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy are another experience. So, and then the other thing, Martin Scorsese the other day, he said that Marvel movies are not cinema. And so I'm like, okay, man, whatever you say. So no. So the Joker is the what makes the Joker great was back when Batman was first coming out. You had Penguin, Riddler, and then I believe it was Mr. Freeze as well, who had all had origin stories before the Joker. So they had these origins, and that's what it was. But the Joker, he came out and there was nothing. He just existed, and it went, I think it was like 30 something years before they even hinted at an origin story. So, yeah. The Joker
sounds to me like this would be a great mini-sode for our patrons to enjoy.
Yeah, if you all just subscribe to the Patreon, and you will get my Joker hot takes. So many.
Nice. All right, so we're gonna just jump into the rest of the show. Pretty much all we're gonna do for the rest of the night is a synergy session, and that is the name that we came up with a very long time ago, and we've just kept with it, where we are going to open a pack of Magic the Gathering cards in real time and go through them and try to collectively come up with a campaign, an adventure, a one-shot, a three-shot, whatever kind of comes to us, using the cards as inspiration. We'll use the art. It might be the mechanics on the card. It could be the flavor text on the card. We also have the option of it not using a card. If we're building towards something and we have a curveball that we just can't see a way to use, we are under no obligation in this exercise to use every card. We often do, but it is not required. Tom, you have never done this before, right? With me? But you're familiar with it?
I am familiar with it.
So one thing I will suggest, and again, I can't think of the URL, but if you just quick Google it, there's a way for you to like type in the name of the card and get a clearer image, because I will show it to the camera. Okay. It's not going to be great. When I convert this to an actual YouTube video, I'll probably do that. But anyone who wants to play along at home, I'll give you enough information. You should be able to quick do the URL and you'll be able to see a much cleaner copy of it.
Okay, I'm just Googling Magic the Gathering database, and we will go from there.
All right. And this is a 2015 core set. I just happened to run upon a few of these, and I bought a bunch. I found that the core set generally for me is better at this because all the other packs are kind of themed
Mm-hmm.
around whatever setting, and that can heavily influence the cards. So by having just the core set, it kind of gives us the freedom to go wherever we want.
So are we building one together?
Yes.
Okay, so it's we're working as a team.
Yes, we are working as a team collectively.
Do we want to decide? Are we doing like before? Are we going to let the cards actually determine if it's jokey jokey or super serious? Let's
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll just take it as it comes.
let's take it as it comes. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
You tell me the card, and I'm going to search into this Magic the Gathering database.
All right. So our first card is a blue sorcery, and it is Divination. And the mechanics are draw 2 cards. The flavor text is the key to unlocking this puzzle is within you. Doriel, Mentor of Mistral Isle. And the image is of what appears to be a male, maybe dwarf, maybe human, pulling spectral keys out of a sort of a basin. Almost looks like a pensive from the Harry Potter series. It's like a ghostly image of keys coming out. So Divination. I'll start with you, Tom. Do you have any thoughts on how this could flavor and kick off our adventure?
I'm looking at this card art right now.
Okay.
And I'm not a fan. No. So what we're going to do is how the whole idea of divination, you're seeing the future. And
Not necessarily the future, though.
You're seeing something that you want to see?
You're seeing something beyond the scope of your mortal vision. Like you could be seeing into another room. I think it can be the future, but it's just you're seeing something beyond your sight.
Okay. All right. Then this is what we're going to do. You see where it says draw 2 cards? I'm going to use this, but in a more weird way.
Okay.
Those 2 cards are going to represent 2 people, and that's your doppelganger. So what you see, all right, is we have a group of. This is all about a group of very selfish individuals, all right?
Okay.
All right. And then what they see, they want to see what is most important to them so they can go find it and search it out. And when they look into this divination pool, they see doppelgangers of themselves, showing them their true selfishness, but then also there's somebody else who's like me.
All right,
so a world where a double of you can exist.
Okay, so in our world, there is an event of some sort that they are drawn to. Is this like a movie situation where someone puts a quarter in the divination machine and it spits out your fortune like in Big, or is this someone is seeking out knowledge, like they have a feeling and they go to a person's like, hey, will you divine, like read my palm situation? Like how are they getting to this?
They're getting to this by putting a quarter in the divination machine.
Okay.
It's a place where people can go to see what they want to see.
All right, so I think let's lean into that. So we're in a D&D world, so maybe there's some sort of festival or fair, and as part of that, there are these different booths and candy corn and caramel apples and that kind of thing.
I like
funnel cake, but like our adventurers or our characters go into one of these tents, and it's it's one of the things where it's probably like a 2-headed calf, but they're saying it's like some sort of crazy monster. And one of the events is to get your palm read, or to like you gaze into a crystal ball, and generally there's nothing there, but our characters actually see something. And I'm going to twist yours a little bit. They see themselves, not realizing now that it's maybe a doppelganger, doing something that they don't know why they're doing. So maybe they are committing murder. Maybe they are running away from a monster. Maybe they are breaking into some place. And maybe some of the cards later will tell us that. But they see themselves doing a thing.
I like it.
Which could then be the doppelgangers, or it could be them. We'll see what comes up ahead. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, I like it.
All right. And again, anyone in chat now or in the future that wants to play along, Shortman Ian jumped in that Madam Eva, I guess, is the name of that either the quarter thing when Big or
no, it's from Curse of Strahd.
Oh, okay, because I've seen that thing multiple times. I have not read the Curse of Strahd though.
It is a very good module.
Okay. So our next card is a creature. It's an elf druid. It
Okay.
is called Elvish Mystic.
Okay. I'm sure
Um,
there's only one elf druid magic card.
well, Elvish Mystic is what
Oh,
you'd want to put in there. Uh,
elvish.
yep.
Okay. Oh,
You
wow.
tap you tap it to add 1 green mana to your mana pool, and the flavor text is life grows everywhere. My kin merely find those places where it grows strongest. So for me, my initial connection or initial thought here, again, following along that same thread, is that there's an elven or an elvish mystic who's running that booth. And maybe they're like a con man, maybe they don't really believe it, but this seems to be something that's true. Or maybe they do know what they're doing, and it's like that the Oracle in Matrix tells them this is not this bullcrap. I don't know what this is, to set them on the journey. So this would be an NPC that they would meet. What do you think about that?
I like it, and I'm going to add to it.
Okay.
Because
That's what this is about.
Yes.
Yes, and
yeah, so the whole idea of life grows everywhere. They meet this elvish mystic. This elvish mystic is this druid has the anything that anybody sees in this pool. Actually, the elvish mystic causes it to become real.
ooh, okay.
So they almost like maybe they're an agent of chaos, and they just like to see how things go. So they maybe, as somebody looks into it, you're causing this to happen by looking in.
Okay. So this is it like a self-fulfilled prophecy?
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like
Okay.
yeah, exactly. It's almost like a self-fulfilled prophecy.
So you see yourself doing a thing. Let's just for the example, let's say they're robbing a bank, just so we can use that as an example. The process of trying to figure out why they're robbing a bank sets them in motion to that they will then have to rob the bank.
Exactly. So I like that idea better than can we like get rid of the doppelganger idea?
Yeah, we can always edit as we go. We don't
Okay.
have to keep anything.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, okay.
I like that idea of you looking in and then you trying to not commit the robbery causes the robbery to happen. And it's this whole idea of this elvish mystic NPC that you created. They are giving life to this prophecy.
And the bank thing is just a placeholder for now.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean what our players are. But so my question is this elven mystic, like you said, is it an agent of chaos who's just trying to sow discord and just like a trickster? Or are they like a benevolent force that is trying to cause something good to happen, and they're manipulating quote unquote commoners and various peoples to be in the right place at the right time, like a cosmic web puller?
I like the idea of it just being an agent of chaos. There doesn't need to be any sort of like level of morality in what they are doing. It's just they just do it to do it.
Okay. All right. So we've got our characters are given a vision of themselves doing something that they can't fathom why they would do it. And this person just kicking the wind just to see what happens.
Giving, like Shortman Ian said in the chat, giving life to the prophecy.
Gotcha. All right. Okay. So our next card, going sideways here again, we always have the option not to use a card, but we'll see. It is a Rot Feaster Maggot. It is a black creature insect. The mechanics are when Rot Feaster Maggot enters the battlefield, exile target creature card from a graveyard. You gain life equal to that card's toughness. And the flavor text is at the top of the food chain. Is it at the top of the food chain, or is it at the bottom? So
I'm at a loss here.
Okay, and again, we can always circle back, but the thing that comes to me first, rather than this being at its face value, that there is some sort of a plague is too strong, but maybe there's something wrong with like the food stores in wherever our characters are. So once the fair breaks down and leaves, all the flour and wheat has weevils in it. All the apples are rotted. And so there's basically just this lack of resources, which could build that pressure cooker to force our characters to do the thing that they saw themselves doing, which is either maybe leaving to go on an adventure to another place. Maybe it's doing something, quote unquote, dark or against someone else. It's robbing the bank, whatever it is. But there's some sort of infestation that is causing the people in the town to become sick and limit food resources.
So I like for what I'm taking from that is not necessarily the super specific, like the physicality of a bug, but what about the almost like it's a almost a metaphysical bug that the whole this vision that you have seen, once you have seen it, the idea of it absolutely just infests your mind and just continues to eat away at you.
All
And
right, so it's a mind, like a mind festering where you can't get away from this. You can't,
yeah,
like you're just obsessed with this vision.
yeah, maybe it's a so I don't even think we need to go as far as like it's a it's like a, I don't even think we need to go as it's like just the idea of a bug, but maybe it could be like a some sort of magical, spectral, strange, otherworldly bug that just what they do is it infests your ideas. It's something that we can't see. It's not on our plane of existence.
Inception.
It's yeah, exactly. It just
D&D
it
Inception.
gets into your head, and now the only thing that you can think about, you are driven to either just stop this thing from happening or to make sure that the vision that you saw is fulfilled.
So I'm definitely getting the feeling this is probably like a one shot, because I can see this is, again, I use the word railroady. Like if you're, it's almost like we're putting a geas on the players. Like you have to deal with this. You cannot ignore it within the terms of D&D. There's a compulsion forcing you and your character to pull the threads on this, because you will go crazy if you don't. And I don't like the idea of doing that with established characters in a long-term campaign. But if this is a one shot that is designed for this thing, or it could even be one of those things where like it's like a side quest where, you know, maybe someone doesn't show up, so you do a one shot adjacent. So it's like different characters in the same city that your characters are currently in, that kind of thing. But I do like the idea that there's some sort of mind. It's like an earworm when a song gets stuck in your head.
Mm-hmm.
But this is that vision. They cannot let go what they see, so they have to pull the threads.
The only thing that I keep going back to is there's the H.P. Lovecraft story, The Curious Case of Dexter Ward, and there's these bugs that you can't see until this machine is turned on that allows you to then you realize that they're all around you, and that's the kind of the bug that I'm envisioning, this thing that is not of our plane. The other thing is, yeah, let's call it a one shot right now, but who says that one of these cards that comes up isn't maybe this is a curse right now, and there's a way that they can get rid of the bug, and maybe there's a card that comes up that changes it.
So then what if our elven mystic is trying to rid themselves of this bug, and they're trying to pass it on? It's like a curse where they're obsessed with this thing, and the only way they can get rid of it is to pass this metaphysical curse onto someone else, and it just happens to be our characters. So then we could have them recur later. They may go back to the elven and be like, well, where did you originally get this thing? Maybe we have to go back to the source, which not tie into what they saw themselves doing.
I am a huge fan of passable curses.
Gotcha. All right. So anything else with this card before we move on?
No, I think we did pretty stellar work with the Rot Feaster Maggot, if I do say so myself.
So Shortman Ian's thrown in a bunch of different stuff as we follow along. The last couple here is that it starts with the dream, with the vision that they saw, but then slowly you see more and more of it. And I really like this because it gives the DM the chance to improvise a little bit, where maybe the vision is very vague to begin with, but as they build closer, they get new flashes, new information. The picture becomes clear. So that way, no matter what they do, you can kind of use it as if that's what they were going to do all along, rather than saying, oh, they have to do this one thing and then they don't do that thing.
My hotel just started ringing.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure this is when I get murdered. Do you hear it ringing?
I do hear it ringing.
It's kind of freaking me out a little bit. I'm going to ignore it. Okay.
You sure you don't? Because this could be your vision. You see yourself answering your phone in your hotel, and the next thing we know, you're a jet-setting spy assassin in like the
somewhere.
somewhere.
But you all know I'm on camera right now, so I'm safe. Okay, that's how this works. Okay, so yes, I like that idea. I love the idea of an unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
So
Always a good idea. All right, our next card. Oh, here we go. It's a fugitive wizard. It's a blue creature, human wizard. It's a 1/1 creature, so there's no mechanics. But the flavor text is the law has its place as a footnote in my spell book. So,
okay.
So I'll let you go first here. How are you seeing this card connected to our story so far?
Okay, other than the fact that there's like a billion fugitive wizards in Magic the Gathering, but I think I found the one that you're seeing. It's the law has its place as a footnote in my spell book. All right. So this is a fugitive mage. Okay. I like the idea of this is maybe another NPC.
Okay.
All right. In this NPC, what they're trying to do is they can almost sense this curse, and they're this character that is hunting down this curse. So maybe this is a NPC that is there to either help the players get rid themselves of the curse as the characters step out of the tent, or as the players leave the tent. This is maybe the next person that they run across. Maybe it's somebody who wants to help them, or maybe it's somebody who wants to destroy them because they realize that, hey, these are the people with the curse. And it can go either way depending on how the characters interact with this person.
So how about this? Very classic movie scene. Our characters are about to walk into this tent. This person comes out very quickly and bumps into them very rudely, and that you get the sense that they were upset about something. The characters start to put together, wait, maybe the same thing happened to them, and that's why they were upset. And it gives them someone to find and say, hey, are you having the same issue we are? And maybe they are, maybe they're not. It could be even such a situation where maybe they know something, but they need help doing a bad thing, and they have to like, oh, I'll help you, but you have to do this thing for me. Fetch quest, rob the bank that we've been talking about.
Oh, yes, self-fulfilling prophecy. Everybody loves an NPC that is going through the same exact problem as the players. Give them both the same motivation. Also, in the chat, Shadzar asks, a quest from Magic cards? Why? Because they put cool art on them, and they put a flavor text that everybody ignores.
Yeah, so this is something we've done several times before.
The phone is ringing again.
You might want to answer
You talk. All right. Watch me. Make sure nobody jumps
out. So we basically, it's like a improvisation exercise where in collaboration where we try to use the cards to inspire an adventure idea, and each card kind of adds to the story so far, and we try to figure out how we put them together. So it's sometimes it works better than others, but so far it's going pretty well.
Okay. They said I only have 2 hours, so then they hung up.
To live?
I don't know.
You might not want to waste any more on this thing.
For those, I'm out of town for work, and I had some parts and stuff shipped to my hotel that I needed.
Gotcha. Okay. That's it. So yes, I really like the idea that they bump into this character just before they go in the tent as this character is coming out, and this is a person for them to track down to get more information from, which you, again, as the DM, you can leverage that however you want. They have the same thing. They have the same motivation. They know how to get rid of it. Maybe they wanted to have that curse and they didn't get it. That's why they were upset, and they want to try to take it from the PCs. There's a lot of different ways you could play that.
Oh yeah, and also it's the Fugitive Wizard, all right, from the Magic the Gathering core set from 2015, and they have they're trying to hide themselves with a hood over their head, and this is every NPC that I ever make. They are just super mysterious and edgy, and they all have either a cloak or a cape, all right?
So people want to know why, if you're in New York, you're not hanging out with them, because New York Tater and Mundangerous both live in New York.
I'm not in New York. I'm in Milwaukee.
Oh, okay.
Next week, I will be in Boston, which is also not New York.
All right, moving on. All right, here we go. Next card is Child of Night. It's a black creature. It is a vampire.
Vampires.
It has lifelink, which is when damage dealt by this creature causes you to gain that much life. And the flavor text is sins that would be too gruesome in the light of day are made more pleasing in the dark of night.
Okay,
what are you thinking?
So are we now saying that this is set in Ravenloft?
No, and the vampire could be more of a metaphor. It could just be something like life energy. It doesn't have to be an actual blah 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 vampires.
But what if I want it to be blah 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 vampires?
Because when I do vampires, that's how I do them.
Is that your cat again, Michael?
Yeah, again, cat shouldn't be down here, but I can't deal with it.
I'm okay. I love it so much.
Oh no. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see here. Okay, there's the cat. I can hear it meowing. All right, so it's too much. Okay, so Child of Night.
Can you hear the purr?
I can, but everybody on the pot, for everybody who's just listening to the audio, that's actually just Michael,
Yeah.
being sultry into the microphone. So anyway, So Child of the Night. Let's see here. I started the last one. You start this one.
Okay, so my first thought is that this isn't an actual blah 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 vampire, but it is some sort of force, whatever the curse is, that they feed off of, either like the anxiety created by these visions. There's some sort of energy, again, life force that they siphon off. Maybe these earworm metaphysical bugs that they grow, or they get sustenance from this as well, and that's what they are. It's just they do this to live. This is how they are able to do that, or maybe it's how they breed. Maybe they have to have this before they can reproduce and make more of themselves. I don't know that I want to add an actual blah 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 vampire.
Okay, no, that's okay. We don't want to. I like the idea of, let's use the idea, like you said, of a vampire, and a vampire almost being like a parasite. And these things are parasitic, and these cosmic creatures that are leeching onto you and infesting into your brain. This idea of a self-fulfilled prophecy. Yeah, I like that idea. Here's the thing, though. They're giving you the idea of a self-fulfilled prophecy and you going out in this absolute drive. That's the byproduct of them. What are they taking from you?
Well, so here's my thought on that. That's why it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because the only way to get rid of this is to actually do the thing they saw. And it doesn't matter what they saw. The creatures don't care what they saw. It's just the only way to rid them is to do that thing. So if they don't, they will just continue to be fed off of and leached off of, basically until they wither away and die. Okay. So they have to do it eventually, or they will die.
Okay, so they're taking life force.
Yeah, they're actually taking, and mechanically we could do this by lowering hit dice, hit points, fatigue. There's different ways that you could, make this work in the system.
Oh, I love permanently lowering somebody's HP.
Oh, that's definitely going to get them to move quickly.
Yeah, everybody loves that.
All right, so our next card here is another creature. It's a red creature, a Foundry Street Denizen. Kind of looks like a goblin. Yeah, it's a goblin warrior. Again, if I could read.
They were just talking about how the goblin flavor text is the best. So
we'll find out. Okay. So the mechanics is whenever another red creature enters the battlefield under your control, Foundry Street Denizen gets +1/+0 until end of turn. And then the flavor text is, after the Foundry Street riot, Arrestor Holbein tried to ban bludgeons, which inevitably resulted in another riot.
Don't ban the bludgeons.
Yeah, do not ban the bludgeons. If you ban bludgeons, only bad guys will have bludgeons.
Okay. It's pretty relevant there, Michael.
I do not mean that in any sort of current political text. I just thought it was funny to say. So I'm gonna jump here just because I have a thought.
Yeah.
That, again, I'm always open. I think this is an NPC who is willing to kill our characters to stop the growth of the mind worms.
Okay.
So they are aware of it, and they are now chasing them. So either they complete the quest to get rid of the curse, or they take their time and this thing's going to try to show up and kill them because it wants these other things to die and doesn't want them to have time to breed.
Okay. I'm going to throw out this idea.
Okay.
Goblins. This person is a goblin because turns out the only creatures in this world that can actually see these can see cosmic entities are goblins. And so for years the goblins have been, this is why they have this negative view in the society. The goblins live with everybody. They have this negative, because they're always like talking about how there's these cosmic creatures that are just leeching on people, and don't you see them? And they're real. And so maybe the players now start to realize this as they start to be hunted by goblins.
So, and again, I'm risking the not being sensitive here, and I apologize if I do cross that line. But it's the homeless, crazy person on the street in that movie who's like saying something like, "It's the end of the world. It's the end of the world." Everybody just writes them off as being, crazy homeless person. But then later we find out actually they do know have something. So is it all goblins in this world, or is it a particular goblin?
No, it's all goblins. It's all goblins.
So this fits better with the idea of a one shot, because we're creating a world where all goblins can do this. Now, do we want to seed this in before our characters go to the fair, where there's like a couple of goblins outside with signs that are like, don't go inside, your brain will be eaten? Of course,
yes. Something you have to. Everybody loves some good foreshadowing. Like,
all right. So I do like that a lot. Actually, that's a very cool thing where goblins can see the spectral realm.
Yeah, and nobody else can. I think it adds something to goblins. I think goblins we can play them as one note, but giving them this idea like, hey, they can see beyond the veil is pretty cool.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. Also probably necessitates that none of our characters would be goblins. So if goblins are a playable race, we probably would have to steer people away. That's where pre-gens come from. Again, if it's a one shot, you just don't give them a goblin.
That's right. Okay.
All right. Moving on. Our next card is a green instant. It's called Plummet.
Oh, yes.
It appears to be vines wrapping around a flying creature. Kind of looks like a harpy, but I can't say for sure. Destroy target creature with flying. And the flavor text is, let nothing own the skies but the wind.
This is another, Magic the Gathering cards, there are a lot of, like, they rinse, wash, and repeat a lot.
Well, again, this is the core set, so you're going to have like Plummet from 12 different core sets over the course of a few years.
Okay.
So we have living vines, but we also have the idea of some sort of flying creature coming down. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking that we continue to keep this very cosmic, all right? And the idea of almost like spectral cosmic things beyond the veil. And let's say that if the characters, either as they get closer to fulfilling their prophecy, they're almost like things just start to get more difficult. And one of the things that could potentially happen to them is that they're just grabbed and just pulled into nothingness, or just pulled into just emptiness by unseen spectral tentacles.
So they have to start avoiding shadow, like claws reach from shadows. They have to be around well-lit sources all the time. Sleeping could be an issue. It's almost like a Freddy Krueger sort of situation. Can't sleep. As they get closer and closer, again, that time clock we're putting on it, that you can't wait much longer.
Yeah, or even not necessarily a time clock, but they're always going to be plagued by this. And then as they get closer to fulfilling it, it gets worse. But let's say they start to like, okay, I'm going to ignore all this and I'm going to go to the beach. All right. I'm going to go to the beach, take a little holiday. Maybe things maybe things are bad, but they're not as bad as spectral tentacles reaching out of shadows and taking you. So as you get closer, these unseen entities can sense that. And so they try to do what they can to stop you.
All right. I like that. I'm going to say yes to that, but I'm going to throw out just the possibility for anyone else who wants to do this in the future. I always like adding airships to my games, so it could also just be an airship that crashes at some point. Okay. Moving on.
For sure.
All right. Next one is a land card. It's called Evolving Wilds. It kind of looks like trees that are like regenerating, like Wolverine style. The mechanics are sacrifice Evolving Wilds, search your library for a basic land card and put it into your battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. And the flavor text is, without the interfering hands of civilization, nature will always shape itself into its own needs.
This writes itself. The idea that the almost like Inception style or Doctor Strange style, everything around you is now starting to shift and change.
So almost like psychedelic, where you walk into a room, but then you're in a different place. You just, you're now in a courtyard.
Yeah,
or you're
I think it's the same thing. It has to do this. Remember this parasitic rot festering maggot or whatever it is leeching on you, and so they're able to manipulate what you see and change how you think and everything in order to stop you. And this is another one of its defense mechanisms, and it is going to change everything around you.
All right. Thought, what if what it's doing is eating your memories? And so the only thing you can only remember this last vision, everything else starts to fade. So things start to seem different because you don't remember being here before.
And you forget even that that's the ultimate defense, is you will forget like what you should even be doing.
Right, but that's the last thing that you forget. If you don't complete whatever this thing is before that happens, then you just become a husk, mind, almost like a zombie. Well, it's a zombie story now.
It's set in Ravenloft. All right. So anyway.
All right. Here we go. Next card.
How many cards are in a Magic deck? Because these are very. I feel like I should be buying Magic cards if there's like 100 cards in here.
I think there's 15. We've been through 8, so I think we're halfway done.
Okay.
There's also a land card, and usually there might be like minions. But we'll go all the way till we get to our rare card.
Okay.
So this is a white creature. It's a cat warrior, so it's like a Felinoid or what is it called? A
Khajiit.
Khajiit
from Skyrim, and then you have the
Oresco Swiftclaw. Sure, I butchered that name. My apologies to cat creatures. It's a 3/1 creature. There's no mechanics. It just, the flavor text is, after the battle of something bridge, the champion spent many months among the Leonone of Oriscos. Man, I'm butchering this. She found that they were quick to take offense, but not because they were thin-skinned, but because they were always eager for a fight. So we have a cat fighter, cat warrior in here. I am not seeing how this is connected right now.
I'm not either. I'm saying that the cat creature is for another day.
All right, so I agree. We're going to call that was an audible. I'll set it to the side because maybe something else will come in later that will circle back around to.
Here, Michael, hit me up with that cat warrior. We'll get to that.
Gotcha. All right, this one I think is going to fit better. It is a red creature, a human shaman called the Brood Keeper. Whenever an aura becomes attached to Brood Keeper, put a put a 2/2 red dragon creature token on the. Let me start over. There's a really loud door sound upside. Whenever an aura becomes attached to Brood Keeper, put a 2/2 red dragon creature token with flying onto the battlefield. It has 1 red mana. This creature gets +1 until end of turn. And the flavor text is, come little one, unfurl your wings, fill your lungs, and release your first fiery breath. All right. So how do you think Brood Keeper fits into our
I'll let you take this one.
So I just think that there's the force behind these earworms. Like the earworms are the brood. So that gives us an additional way to complete our quest, is to kill that thing. That's the main bad guy. So we either complete the quest or we kill this thing, and that's how we free ourselves from the curse.
I want to see this art. What is this thing called?
It's called a Brood Keeper, and it's a female shaman. She's holding a dragon's egg, and her hands are like fiery.
Oh man, that person looks evil.
Yeah, it doesn't look like someone you'd invite over to Sunday dinner.
Yeah, no, that's a bad guy. That's a bad guy. All right, we found him.
Now, is this the Elvish Mystic? Is this the person who starts this whole thing, or is this someone completely different?
No, all right, so you know what? We can act all sophisticated and everything all we want, but at the end of the day, we all love super contrived plots like this, and of course, it's the Elvish Mystic.
Well, there's also the conservation of characters. In a story like this, you want to try to use characters as many ways as you can, because
Yeah.
you keep adding NPCs, you're going to forget
It's so
who they
complicated. Yes,
Yeah.
this is the Elvish Mystic. They basically anybody who comes to them, they give them the infestation in order to allow it to spread. It's all a farce.
So the first time our PCs go back to them, potentially, it's the I was cursed. I'm sorry, I passed it on to you because that's the only way I could get rid of it. But that's just bull crap, and they were actually like ha 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 behind the scenes the whole time.
Of course.
Classic. I
It's
like
so
it.
classic.
All right, that was actually our first uncommon, the silver on the cards. This is our next uncommon. All right, here we go. This is a green humanoid creature, a paragon of the eternal winds. It's a human druid. Other green creatures you control get +1/+1. Green mana tap. Another target green creature you control gains trample. If you would assign enough damage, okay, it just says what trample is. So this is a BA druid warrior.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right, so you take this one. What are you thinking?
Oh man, they look so cool. They look so cool. All right, everyone should go look up the Paragon of the Eternal Wild. It's the Eternal Wilds, right?
Wilds, correct. Yeah, sorry.
I thought you said winds. All right.
I did. I can't read. I'm Kentucky educational.
Okay. Yeah. All right. This is the only other. This is the NPC that is going to be able to help you. All right. So I'm going to go I'm going the easy route. Okay. This is the Paragon of the Eternal Wilds. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and make this because it would be super easy to go ahead and say, oh, this is some elvish kind of wizard. This has to be a goblin wizard or a goblin druid. All right. This is the one goblin who has decided to, instead of just screaming at people, to take the knowledge that in what they've seen and to study it. All right. They have decided to, instead of just yelling for people to see what they can't, they have decided to go out and study these unseen creatures and to come back and to take them out. They're basically like the Van Helsing, but if Van Helsing fought mind maggots and was a goblin, okay? That's what I'm envisioning right now. And then basically the players are, it's that point where the players are absolutely like at their wits' end, and this is the NPC who can lend them a hand.
Or, because originally I talked about how the goblin was going to be the NPC that would try to kill them to try to end the infestation. We changed that a little bit. What if this is the goblin who's willing to kill them to end the infestation? Like, I'm sorry, you're infected. Triage. It's the best thing for everyone. If I kill you, I kill them. They can't breed. They can't go to anybody else. Sorry, but you got to die. So it gives them a good aligned NPC who wants to kill them.
This is the lawful good NPC.
Who's doing the wrong thing for the right reason. So they either have to sway them to their side, outrun them, trick them, but basically avoid them until they can solve the problem on their own, or they will offer a solution that ends our characters.
I like that. I think it's a more complex solution. I think instead of the players could potentially get help from this person too, but it's not going to be easy.
Yep. I like that as well. I like the complexity of this is the good person, the good guy, as it were, but they're going to kill you if you don't do
for sure.
something.
Yep.
All right. So we got 2 cards left before we get to our final land card.
Have you looked at the last card?
No, I have not. I try not to look at them because I like to see them as they come.
I really hope it's good.
So this is an artifact. It's equipment. It's called the Rogue's Gloves. And the image is of looks like a human wearing gloves that have runes on them, and they're manipulating some device. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. And then professional pilfers prefer proper preparation is the
okay.
So what are you thinking?
I'm envisioning that this is getting near the end and they have found the item that can help them, and that is these almost like these spectral gloves that they can use to reach into their mind. It is the only thing that can physically touch the infestation. And so by putting on these gloves, they can reach into their head and it's gonna hurt. But when they do that, they can pull this thing out and be whole again.
I was actually thinking very, very similar, that these gloves allow them to touch these things.
Yeah.
Maybe even kill them. Like that's what allows them to fight them. But this story being as weird and cosmic, maybe that is all they have to do is just pull them out and die. They don't actually have to have a sword fight with them.
Exactly. Yeah, you can just, and I like the imagery of just like reaching into your friend's head and, pulling out.
Yeah. I think what I also like the added complexity that these creatures have been eating their memories. There is a way to almost like force them to regurgitate them back, but it takes longer. And maybe there's that point where it's like, okay, we don't have time to get all of our memories back or we're going to die. So we're going to have to lose something. And that can be the choice is, are you willing to lose some of your memories or not? And which ones are you willing to lose? That in the right campaign with the right players, that could be a very cool emotional scene. Cool. Or it could just be like, haha, I pulled it out. You squish it, and then you don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
You good?
I'm good with that.
All right. Our last card, our rare card, is a Genesis Hydra. A creature. It's a plant Hydra. And basically, it's like a bunch of Venus flytrap on a giant Hydra. It enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counter. So when you cast it, you can cast more mana. So, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that look at this thing. Looks like it's a Hydra. It's weird. Could potentially be. It says plant Hydra, but it looks all snaky. And then also, Michael, we have written an adventure already. That is, we've ran at several conventions that has to do with a dimensional Hydra. All right. So this is absolutely the same Hydra. This is this strange Hydra that has the ability to just cross in between dimensions. And I like the idea of, they pulled out the creature out of their mind, but now because they've been touched by it, they can now see what's around them, like the goblins. So they can be like, Goblin, Boblin, you are correct. Like, we can see, and now this is where, now that they can see this giant Hydra that's almost like the hive mother that's being controlled by the hive brood, or the
brood keeper.
The brood keeper is being controlled by them. This is the final battle.
So I also like just a little twist to that they can, when they can now see that these claws that were reaching from the shadows were actually benevolent, and they have to go through the shadow to fight the Hydra. Like, they have to willingly be pulled into that sort of nexus nether region, and that's where they take the battle to the Hydra.
Yes. It's all about in between. It can't exist in one world or the other. It's this in between.
Nice. All right, and then our last two, we actually have two lands. We have a foil forest, very cool, and then an island, and then we have a soldier token. I think we can ignore all of those unless there is something about a forest or an island that you find particularly compelling.
I do not.
Okay, so we have an adventure. Our characters are exposed to a curse that involves spectral mind worms eating their memories. They have a vision of themselves doing something that is antithetical to their nature. The DM could choose that at the time. The only way to get rid of these things is to do the thing that they see, or be killed, which the Paragon of the Wilds will try to do, or find this magical item which will allow them to touch these worms, remove them from their head, but that will then trigger a final battle with a trans-dimensional Hydra.
Exactly.
All right, so would you run this adventure?
I would, because it's got a lot of weird stuff. I like weird stuff. I like NPCs that are super cool, and we threw, and then also we kind of hinted that it was in Ravenloft, so I would probably reskin this to be in Ravenloft.
Very, very cool. So that has been our synergy session for tonight with Tom. I love doing this. It's something I hope we will continue to do more often. As always, for anyone who is listening now or in the future, if you have additional or different ways that you would have used the cards, or if you use the same cards to come up with a completely different adventure, please let us know. Hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, or comment on this, whether this is the YouTube version or the audio only, and let us know what adventure you came up with. And if anyone takes this idea and runs it, please let us know how that goes, good or bad. We would love to hear your experiences running this adventure.
And then we'll send you a cease and desist.
No, we will not. We will thank you for listening and being one of our supporters in various ways, including if you want to become a patron of ours and help support our show monetarily with a monthly pledge, please go to patreon.com/the RPG Academy. And we will end tonight with a question from our patron. This one is also from Big Al. Easiest class to play. We will frame this as a D&D 5th edition question, though that's not necessarily always what we mean. But so, Tom, easiest class to play D&D 5th edition.
Warlock. Cast Eldritch Blast. Done. It's done.
You think so? So at your table, someone's never played D&D before. They come up, it's like, hey, can I play? You're going to hand them a Warlock.
Oh, if I'm going to, you know what? I was thinking about this. You know what? It was going to be a joke, but it's not anymore. All right. I love the Warlock, and I really do think it's the Warlock because the way that the Warlock spells work, you don't necessarily have spell levels. You have, like all the other classes, you have 3 spells that you can cast, and they can be in between levels 1 through 3, and it doesn't, or 1 through 9, and it doesn't matter. You have a set number of spells you can cast, and they can be whatever level you want them to be. And it's it's very simple. There's several, you have some very strong cantrips that you can just use if you're kind of at a loss for what to do. And and then also just the role-playing aspect of it. It comes with a baked-in role-playing tool of having a patron. You're just like, so you always have something that you can role-play towards. You don't have to, it's a really, I love the Warlock so much.
Okay. All right, I'm probably going to go sideways to what people who know me would expect. I'm actually going to say the Rogue is the easiest to play because there are so many pop cultural analogs. Like everyone has seen a movie or a show where they can go, that's the roguish character. They're the dumb brutish one. They're the suave cat burglar. They're the charismatic con artist, which borderlines into bard, but if you're new to D&D, you may not be familiar with that. But I think it's just easy to role play because you have so many references that you can lift from. And then when it comes to combat, you just tell them you're a little squishy. You want to try to sneak around and stab someone in the back, and then worry about the mechanics later. But just say that's what you're trying to do, is be sneaky on the battlefield, wait for an opportunity, strike hard and fast. And it's a lot of fun as a D&D player, as a new player, when you get to go, oh, I get to roll all of these dice when I attack now. That's cool.
Yeah, it is cool, except when you have to explain to a new player how exactly sneak attack works, because I don't think really anybody actually truly understands how sneak attack, or when you actually can use it. So yeah,
well, I will hand wave that anyways.
I do like the idea of picking the Rogue, just because, like you said, the amount of pop culture references is just, it's so easy to just kind of, you're Han Solo, or you're just any other,
Malcolm Reynolds,
you're a ninja. It's just even just simple like that. Whereas a Warlock, it's like, what what is that?
Nice. Well, Big Al is actually in chat and says that he appreciates our answers. So thank you so much for submitting the question. I'm glad you appreciate our answers. That is going to wrap up tonight's show. So Tom, before we sign off, where can people find you on the internet if they want to get a hold of you and chat?
You can find me at BezcarTom on Twitter. That's where I'm at the most. Talking about games, comics. And then if you really want to talk about comics, you can hop over to our Discord channel, where you can ask me any question about comics, and I will give you some sort of take or recommendation on them.
Excellent. And as for me, the RPG Academy, anywhere and everywhere. If you find somebody, it's probably me. And you will find me soon at a Catacon, because this episode will probably come out a week or so before, if my timing's right. And I know most of the people actually that are in chat will be there, and hopefully everyone that was in chat will be there. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. But thank you again, Tom. So before I go, what did you think of Synergy Session?
I actually really liked it. And here's the thing: I'm incredibly tired right now, but I still felt like the Magic cards gave me enough to work with to really. I didn't have to think too hard. It just kind of, and it was kind of fun. It was
All
an
right.
easy way to be creative.
And that's the goal, is that if you're struggling for an idea, even if you don't want to buy cards, if you have Magic cards,
Where where we go buy one package of Magic cards and we play a one shot, and we start, and then like every 20 minutes or so, I'll pull out a new card, and we're just like, boom, like that may be kind of fun.
so I've done not exactly that, but I've done a game where I was very heavily improvising. I had a deck there, and I would just occasionally behind the screen flip it over and be like, okay, and I would use that to kind of help me guide it. And I know Chris Burlew, who's done this with me before, he's actually ran the adventure we created on that episode.
Oh, that's
I
hilarious.
believe multiple times at
That's
conventions.
funny. Yeah, no, I just think it'd be cool because if the players know, like they're buying in, they're like, okay, this is gonna be weird. We're gonna have a match. There's this whole idea. So there's this anticipation. What's next? How is the game gonna change? And so yeah, no, I really like this.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I mean, I don't want to get into it now, but we could even maybe think of a way that the players control when the card is flipped. Like that's a decision they make, and then that changes the adventure. Like they can turn it over hoping it's an NPC ally. It could be, but I'll think about that for later time. But thank you so much for joining me. Thank you to everyone that was in chat now or was listening in the future. We will do our awkward wave out and say goodbye. But remember, if you're having fun,
You're doing it right.
you're doing it right.